my version of recovery is kind of geared towards, like, again, like the physical therapy piece, athletic training, injury, all that stuff. So when I'm thinking recovery, it's literally, even if we're working out with some set injury, or if we're working out, like we have to change up variations of something because something's like quote unquote tweaked. I feel like for me, the recovery piece always has to be as extreme as your training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to so freaking hard on, like, I don't know, we'll say like a heavy back squat day. I mean, you got to be even max effort in the recovery. You know what I mean? Because how I always say, as every workout, you're digging a hole. And the more intense it is, the hole is deeper and deeper and deeper. And then the recovery is putting dirt back in the hole so you can re-dig it up again. But if your recovery is like, if your workout's like 6 feet deep, and then the recovery is like 2 shovels in the 6-foot hole,
you might as well do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's useful on both ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my, not scientific sense, but.
For sure. No, I mean, I think that's the exact same way that I look at it. Is it's all a paradigm or a spectrum where athletes are always injured, but to what extent are they injured?
Right.
You can say it the same way. You can say it the same way the other way. They're always healthy. Just how healthy are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on our end, I look at it as there's a certain blend or overlapping of what is perceived as conventional physical therapy or rehabilitative methods, and then what is then equal but not attached to strength training, the same concepts, right? The conventional perceptions of what strength training is. But if we look at those two even independently, there's a blur or ambiguity in the semantics, especially across practices. We don't really understand the same definition sometimes on fundamental things.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's all integrated. The restoration and the training have to be in sequence and symbiotic in a sense, because both are going to feed the other. The better you train, the harder or more demand you'll have to truly need to recover. Or to put that simply, you don't think about foam rolling until you can't walk up the stairs because your hamstrings are biting so hard.
Exactly.
So if it's always this reactionary thing where it's prompted, then there's never a habit. So it's never really a part of it. It's only this non-included thing that you do once in a while. But on this front, and what we're saying is the two go hand in hand, where it shouldn't even really be differentiated as two different things. You're just doing a different activity day to day or block to block that's benefiting you as the athlete.
Right. And I mean, to go off that too, it's like, again, it's dependent upon where you're at in your either training stage or where you're at in your injury stage. Because, I mean, we'll take like a dead bug, for instance. I mean, you could, see someone doing a dead bug, but then ask them why they're doing a dead bug. One person might be like, I'm doing it because, my physical therapist told me to do it just to activate XYZ muscles. Or then you could ask another person, well, I'm just doing it so I could prevent XYZ. But it's like the same exact thing. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep.
And the difference is just, either preventative or rehabilitative. But then again, it kind of crosses both kind of planes. So, I mean, I think like the biggest secret is to, quote unquote, bridge that gap between, are you more on the rehab end, or are you more on the performance end? And then rehab and performance should kind of merge towards, top of the pyramid, whether, your pyramid's kind of like a larger base, smaller base, whatever. If that makes sense.
For sure.
Well, I think you want it to be, once like performance meets that rehabilitation, then it's no longer, you want it to get to a point where it's no longer reactionary, where you're doing it based off of your day-to-day the same way people, stretch before and after. But, actually diving into the fact that like you said, your recovery should be as adequate as your training, and people are kind of just throwing it to the side and then reacting to it. And it needs to be more about having it just in that weekly routine.
And here's the other thing too. Most people think that you have to do way more in terms of intensity and volume than you actually do. Like, this shit is so overdone by most people because you're always just going to assume more. So, like, we're still trying to fight the battle of making sure people understand that you should not feel like you're like, baby giraffe legs walking out of the gym every single day. Of course, you need to hit those high intensities and have those heavy days, but those should be infrequent more often than not for most populations.
Yeah. I mean, well, I feel like, to me, like 70% of people just think that if I literally am not dying or my legs aren't fucking hanging from my body, that wasn't a good workout. And I'm just like, why? Like, I can sometimes
they need that's the tangible reaction that they can feel, that they can take away from what they did, because the science behind it, you're not going to feel that. We know that progression is going to happen over time, but that's that like instantaneous feedback for them.
I think that's what traps Olympic weightlifters and powerlifters, because if you do that shit for long enough, eventually you just start to associate where you're at in your programming and how your body should feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefit to that. And for elite and advanced lifters, they can use that to their advantage. But for the younger generations of the novice population, usually that's not good, because you just associate that you have to feel this way after an 80% or whatever, fill in the blank. And we should be a little bit more intuitive and autonomous, where that was 6 weeks ago, or that was a couple months ago. This is now. How I feel now should govern how I approach these training programs.
I mean, I think it simply just goes back to intelligent, like, programming. Like, okay, I get intensity can always be up here, but if we're going to go back to Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, we're not always staying at 90% even on our speed days.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
And like that, and I think also kind of social media doesn't really help with that sometimes, because everyone are glimpses of their 90% or like, top end of the max.
Nobody posting this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and I mean, kind of tying a couple of different points together there, and as it applies to, let's just say, the recreational population or just the gym enthusiasts, these are the people that we most commonly hear the same common phrases from. My knees hurt going up or down stairs. I get, frequent low back pain. I have trouble sleeping. My nutrition is inconsistent. My workouts have been inconsistent. So when I look at those factors, the first thing that doesn't come to my mind is, oh, they need the perfect program with everything tailored right to what they need.
Yeah.
You could probably do 1 of 10 programs and have almost equal success across if you take the autonomy and have the discipline of eating right, hydrating, sleeping right, taking care of mundane injuries or nagging dull pain by doing some things that are a little bit more prudent for you at the time. So like a big part of this too is just being disciplined with basic principles.
Well, I mean, that's the hardest part.
If we had that kind of answer, we'd have about 10,000 people on this Zoom call right now.
The big one. I mean, like, I'll fucking sleep 4 hours. I'll eat like a, sausage egg McMuffin and then pound a fucking monster and then like, all right, let's squat. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I've done, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, and I'm sure people, have done the same exact thing. I'm like, all right, I'm not an athlete.
The choir range.
That's the hardest part.
That. But
to meal, sleep, and all that stuff.
So hey, that brings up a good point. Let's close out on this too. Let's think about, like, so what are those active strategies that we should be doing day to day and kind of auto-regulating our training? right? So I think I'll start it out, I guess, by saying I think the first part of the problem is people view it as binary. I'm either going to work out or I'm not going to work out.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty shitty way of looking at it. We should always perceive it as, what can I maximize with what I have? And this is actually a true situation for me today, right? I'm loaded down on the schedule. We all know how it goes. I've got 1 hour exactly to get my lunch, my lift, and check an email in.
Right.
And I'm getting ready to get to my lift, and I get an alert reminder that I have a call with somebody about getting equipment in the gym, right? So I had completely forgotten about it, and I'm like, shit, man. Well, now I've got this call at 12:15, from 12:15 to 12:30. I'm probably just not going to get it in. But if I say it like that, then I already make the decision that whether that call goes 5 minutes or 30 minutes, I'm not going to get a workout in. Turns out it was 6.5 minute call. I hung the phone up, got right on the floor, ended up getting a decent 35-minute workout in. So I think whether we have the time, the capacity, or the ailments or the injuries that are accumulating, whatever the variables are, you just look to try to fluctuate what you need to get in what you can or what you need to get in.
Yeah. I mean, no, I would agree. And I think that someone would always, those decisions would be made better once they kind of like are put in that situation constantly, and they're constantly like, all right, this is happening again. What can I prioritize? That's more important rather than,
right.
I don't know, doing 500 calories on the salt bike.
Yeah, no, but people will always default to what they know and what they like. So when you come in and you have nagging shoulder pain on 4 hours of sleep, you just pounded a monster. Instead of jamming that bench press day just because it's what you know and what you want to do, just get your ass on the ground and start doing some thoracic work and start doing some ground work and doing things that matter, even if that's 25 minutes on a shit day, rather than getting frustrated trying to continue to bench press and then irritating your shoulder and exhausting yourself with low fuel to begin with.
No, for sure. It turns into an active rest day, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Just you're being more productive in that active rest, even though you're doing less, you're not having a strenuous workout. That's the barrier.
I think that's the hardest part, is that people don't understand that is more beneficial than that. Like, so we're in that environment all the time. So for us, it's easy to be like, all right, well, we're here 20 minutes.
Yeah. I'm
going to do this. But for people that don't work in that kind of setting, they're like, well, I fucking made it to the gym, so I have to go hard because what I mean?
I see what
you're saying. So
but yeah,
we understand, and what we need to get people to try to understand is that there's more value and in going to the gym and doing that 25-minute active rest day.
Yeah.
For, no matter what, but people are looking at it as like, well, I'm here, so like I gotta get those heavy weights in because I don't know, what my next schedule is going to be.
And that circles all the way back around to the hole versus putting dirt back in or taking it out. So
yeah.
But no, good stuff there. So summarizing it, be autonomous with your training. Don't feel like it's either rehabilitative or performance. They're not binary. Everything is integrated. So you need to just continue to see it as doing what you need to do to be where you want to be. If that means you have to dial the intensity, the volume back, go ahead and do so. If you feel good, go ahead and push, but still maintain that recovery or that restorative side so that you can continue to push without running into inevitable disruption. And then day to day, maximize the time you have. Don't worry about having to go hard every single time or just because you're there. Make your time worth it. Don't just do things that you think you need to do.
Play the long game. That's all it is.
Play the long game.
So
good stuff. All right, guys. Well, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock, Zoom call. Jump on if you have any questions or need to talk with us about anything. And then we'll probably follow up with something open topic kind of like this again. So tune in next week, 8 o'clock.